Hi everyone, let's talk about Imperial Settlers Roll and Write, which is a nice, simple roll and write game. And I feel like I am probably more predisposed to like roll and write or defend them, find good points in them. And yeah, the best one I can really find about this one is that, yeah, maybe as a good introduction, it's definitely the basic mode is basically just, getting some resources. How are you going to spend those on the tracks? And you can see the points you're getting. The buildings add a little bit to that. They do change it up. They can give you a food every round and stuff. They can maybe give you an extra worker if the dice change. The favor tiles that change based on the number of players. You might get some different ones game by game if you're only playing with two. Everything's quite simply laid out. And yeah, maybe I'm doing it a disservice not giving it more credit for that. But I feel like other roll and write games that I've played do have quite simple structures, quite simple rules, but have more interesting decisions and are a more interesting, engaging experience. Just, for example, a harvest dice is probably the simplest one that we've got. There's a playthrough for that on the channel as well. And yeah, that is a lot more interesting because it does have, it does have an extra element to it and more advanced mode like this one has as well. But it has something that I think a lot of roll and write games have. And I'm not saying that all of them should have this, but in that as you progress through the games, you end up restricting yourself based on how you have gone in, say, Knockmal or Dice Stars or Dice Land. The way that the path that you've taken through the game is inevitably going to restrict you, and you will need some clever planning, or it will influence the decisions that you're making. And I don't really see any of that in Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. And yeah, maybe it's trying to do its own thing. It's trying to have a little bit of engine building with the buildings in there. I think a downside is as well that in the multiplayer game, the adventure sheet is exactly the same every single time, and you're going to be playing with that same set of buildings. You don't use all 6 in the basic game. Feels like it's going to be the same thing over and over again. At low player counts, it's going to be slightly different because of those favour tiles that are available round by round, but not very different. The advanced game, I do really like the concept of having, each building has these Tetris shapes that you can draw on your sheet over boxes you've already crossed off. So it gives you a little bit of influence over the tracks you might want to go down. You might have not bothered with stone and now you suddenly want to because it's the one thing stopping you making this particular shape, and then in doing those shapes it makes the buildings that you've built more powerful. So instead of giving you 1 food per round, it now gives you 2 food per round, and so on, or more workers or more gold or something like that. That's it's definitely the most interesting part for me, but I feel like it never really gets to be that big a thing in it. It's still not, it's not making me make any tough decisions in that. It's kind of just like a breezy, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, yeah, this does this. I don't mean to seem really, really down on it. It's just that, yeah, maybe I went in with too high expectations from loving so many roll and writes, and I haven't played, base Imperial Settlers. I've played 51st State. It's a little bit similar. The solo game, though, I'll say as a big positive, the solo game has an adventure pad of 48 sheets, all of them different. So, you won't play with any of the same buildings, and, different art and different names for all of the stuff, different shapes, yeah, loads of different stuff. I can see why it's solo only, because it, messes with the dice that are available and stuff, some of the powers as we flick through, that maybe that's why it's solo only. And it'd be nice if there was some house rule, or if Ignasi can rule that, yeah, use those in multiplayer and it's fine if you just photocopy them or something, or print some more out, probably more likely than you using a photocopier. But yeah, the solo mode feels like where it's at. And maybe because I haven't played it, I do know about Imperial Settlers and how expanded it is and all of the different things. Maybe I was expecting things to be a bit more different because of all those different factions, as if you're playing one of those factions and your thing is geared towards that. And we played a demo, as I mentioned in the UK Games Expo video. We've played a demo of Empires of the North that does that very well as well, a spin-off game from the main Imperial Settlers one. Fantastically enjoyed that. One issue that we found that is solvable is that it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on in this game. Not so much early on, but definitely later, as you have these buildings and you have the extra gold, the extra workers, the extra food, all of that kind of stuff, and you've got the dice that you can't really mess with very much because they're available to everybody. it can be hard to keep track of all this extra stuff that you've got as you are spending it bit by bit and trying to keep track of, oh yeah, I remember I've got this extra gold as well, so now I've got these resources, and it's all just in your head and the kind of the three things that are on the dice and your actions and everything. How many have I spent? How much stuff have I got left? It's not, I'm not saying it's unplayable, because we played it all the times apart from the playthrough. The few times that we've played it, it's been just in our heads. It's doable, but yeah, it's inconvenient and gets in the way. It makes the late stages of the game last longer than they probably should. And I can understand why it doesn't come with resources. It's a roll and write game. It's only supposed to have pads and pencils and stuff, and having wooden components and all that kind of thing would drive the cost of it up. But it would be nice if everybody just had a little track, even if it was just for the actions or something. If everyone had a little punchboard thing and a little punchboard token where they could just keep track of some of this stuff, because there's, as you add all of these abilities and things in, there's more to keep track of. And if you change your mind, or try and do like a take back of something, then even that makes it even harder, because not only have you got to track what you've got left, you've got to try and remember what you just spent and try and reverse engineer it all. It would be a lot simpler if there was just a way of tracking it. And maybe you just say, okay, then don't do takebacks then. But that's kind of a silly answer to the problem, isn't it? If you do get trapped in your flat, try not to get trapped in your flat. It's that kind of thing. So I hate to be so down on it. I think maybe I'm not giving it credit as maybe it will be a good family one and maybe a good introduction, but I feel at the same time that there are many better games out there, many better roll and write games out there that would be good introductions, like Harvest Dice, and then with a little bit more to them, like the Nockmal, and going a bit further, there's Welcome to, there's Ganz schön clever. There's a lot out there. I've got playthroughs for all of those things I just mentioned, I think. The way it is at the moment, maybe it'll get expanded and stuff in the future. Maybe there's something we just haven't seen in it yet, but it hasn't really had that spark for us at all, I'm afraid. But I'm almost forgetting that the playthrough is there, and you already decided whether it's for you or not, and I'm just talking rubbish, aren't I? Decide for yourselves. Go and watch some other playthroughs. Tell people about the channel. Like things. Do whatever you like, really. I'm going to go do more playthroughs and things. Bye, everyone.